Well, that was a hell of a show. That's really all I can say to kind of start this conversation off. But this is Raphael Garcia, and I'm here on September 15th, Sunday, September 15th, and Clash of Champions just ended on the WWE Network, and I'm going to attempt to get back to doing these pay-per-view recaps. And man, what a it was a this damn show was good, and oftentimes we talk about how the ending of the show, the main event, is often what will remind everybody or keep everybody thinking how good the show was. This show ended on the highest of high notes because I'm going to start with the main event and work my way backwards. But we got Braun versus Seth Rollins, damn near trying to kill each other, and Seth had to hit four uh, curb stomps and a pedigree to get the win. But he gets the win just for his night to be ended by the Fiend. And we see him going back into the back. His music's playing. They bring up the logo and everything, like the show's going off. They even have like the preview of what's next on the network, and the lights shut down. We get that Fiend screaming, screeching type sound, and then he appears, hits the Sister Abigail, and then hits the mandible claw to get Seth Rollins out of there, and that's how it ends in darkness. That right there is really all we need. That ending by itself elevates the whole entire show. From that main event, Seth and Braun delivering for I'm not quite sure how long it was, but they delivered. You got Braun hitting a I wouldn't even call it a frog splash. You call it a hippo splash off the top rope on Seth. You have those finishes. That was an excellent match. They got off to a very, very, very fast start. And I mean, that right there elevated the whole show. I thought this was a good show before then, but we got that. We got the Fiend back and basically inserting himself into the main event picture. We got Luke Harper's return. You just got a lot to talk about from the show, and I'm going to try to recap everything and give you just some thoughts on what we got to see here and how everything went down, because I think that this was a good show. A long one again, but that's just how it's going to be when we're talking about WWE for the time being, because they have some very long pay-per-views. We started off the night with the triple threat for the not Intercontinental Champion. Again, it's a triple threat for the Cruiserweight title with Umberto, Lince Dorado, and Drew Gulak. This was, I mean, it was a good way to start the show. The crowd seemed hot for it. Drew Gulak got the win. After it was the finish was kind of a blown spot because Lindsay's shoulder wasn't down, and the ref had to stop and kind of restart the count. But it was enough to get the win there. It was a pretty good back and forth match. It was a good way to start the show because the crowd was into it, and everyone seemed like they were very interested in the match. And the crowd was, like I said, the crowd was behind it. There was a lot of early cheers. It doesn't make me want to watch 205 Live anymore, or any more than I already was watching it. But it was a good show. And then also on the pre-show was Cedric Alexander versus AJ Styles, and a lot of people were pissed that this match was on the pre-show. I think it was a good place for this match because the way they did it, it was less than 5 minutes long, very hard hitting from the very start. They hit that Mission Knuckle Driver spot right out the gate. Then it just went downhill for Alexander there. He took a brain buster on the apron, which looked absolutely sick, and that was followed up by a Styles Clash out on the floor as well. They get back into the cage, get back into the ring. There's a little bit more back and forth action, but that also ends with another Styles Clash and AJ getting the win less than 5 minutes. A lot of people were perturbed about that. I think it was pretty good. I really kind of I enjoyed how hard hitting and how quick that match was. It didn't do a whole lot to fully elevate Cedric Alexander, but I think it did enough to make sure we remember how great AJ Styles was and keep him strong as the United States champion. Then we got Robert Roode and Dolph Ziggler defeating Seth Rollins and Braun Strowman, and this match went exactly as we thought it was going to go, with uh, Braun being in there and the storyline being developed as to how are they going to work together. when in reality, it was Braun. It was a miscalculation on Braun's part that cost him the title. He ran in to try to save Seth, ran through all three guys, goes outside, and then Seth gets hit with the glorious DDT for the 1, 2, 3. I like the idea of Ziggler and Rude as tag team champions. They weren't doing anything as individuals. Rude is probably one of the best tag team wrestlers that we've seen in this generation. Definitely along the lines of one of the best in the industry. I would say him, maybe guys like Kofi Kingston and others, guys who singles wrestlers who are often inserted into tag teams and they elevate those groups. That's what I mean. And he's been someone that's been doing it for a very long time. So it's interesting to see him be put in this position. I hope they keep this team together for a long time. I hope they keep them relevant for a long time as well. I don't think that I hate when it's like main eventers, super main eventers, such as Braun and Seth being put in the tag team title picture because they don't have anything else to do with those belts. I do like the idea of Rude and Ziggler holding those titles, and I hope that they do enough to keep them on TV on Mondays and keep them active. I think that there's some value in both of those guys. But the point of this match was to really set up the main event, which we're going to kind of circle back around to as well, because we saw a situation where he ended up Braun ended up losing the title for his team. So there's that. And then let's move on to Charlotte Flair and Bayley. And this was it was a 3-minute match, and I think they are looking to position Bayley as a chicken shit type of heel, which I don't know how I feel right now. How I feel about that. It was interesting the way she came out. She's getting like her ass kicked by Charlotte Flair. She cheats to win the same way Ric Flair probably would have by taking off the padding off the bottom turnbuckle and throwing Charlotte's face into it. She hits her head, pins her 1, 2, 3. After after that, she jumps up, snatches her title, and runs, literally runs up the ramp. And it's a gift that people have been making fun of since then. And she's been kind of making light of it of herself as well. And I think she's putting herself to be that individual who is not sympathetic as a heel, but is talking about her underhanded actions in a way that's almost like aloof. Because here it is, she clearly cheated, but she's clearly calling herself, like she's the role model, she's the hero, et cetera, et cetera. The you see it in the video package that they put together before this match. I love everything about Charlotte Flair. I love how she carries herself. Even after she loses the match, she tells the ref to come back and hold the ropes for her so she can climb out and go about her way. It was a good match. Another one. It was another one with a very fast start, and it was an underhanded win. It was a match that kind of cemented Bayley as a heel. Charlotte is once again, I guess she's going to be a face, but I know there's going to be some complaints about how long the match was, but I definitely think it was interesting to watch this one go by that quickly. Charlotte Flair is great at it, and she's great. She's head and shoulders the best in the women's division, and probably one of the top two wrestlers on the roster, top three easily. We have After that we have New Day and the Revival. I mean, again, the storyline of this match was Xavier being hurt and Big E having to kind of carry the load. The way the Revival got the victories by making Xavier tap out. There were some good spots there. Big E had a nasty Uranagi. He takes a shadow machine on the way out on the outside of the ring. I like how they switched it up to kind of fit the story with Big E being the man that was in the ring majority of the time. Usually it's Xavier that's starting out, but Big E was carrying the load. So I think that was a different switch. What the hell was going on with Xavier Woods' boots? Did anyone notice he had like elf shoes on? which they all march to kind of a beat of their own drum, but that was very interesting to me as well. So it just kind of stood out to me. Revival, they get the win. They have the titles now. I mean, they're a great tag team, one of the best tag teams in the industry today. I like that they know how to do great tag team wrestling, how to tell a story throughout the matches. So I think that that's fantastic as well. I'm interested in seeing what they do next. Again, I want to see more tag team wrestling, like tag team story based wrestling where they're not playing the second fiddle, they're not just stuck in a faction behind a world champion, that they have meaningful, valuable feuds. And I think we're heading in that direction with Rude and Ziggler being champions on one side and the Revival being the champions on the other. We got the women's tag team titles match now, and commentary in this match was I'm not quite sure how I feel about commentary in this match. You had Corey Graves doing his typical lust angle over Mandy Rose and Alexa as well. Um, Nikki Cross did the greatest Mandy impersonation into like a Rick Rude impersonation. It was fantastic. People were cheering for that. People were hot for this match as well too. They were cheering for Lexi, cheering for Nikki Cross, and I think that that's fantastic. They have done a service to the women's tag team titles because like I've been very open with saying the Iconics were the worst champions in almost the history of champions. I'm just saying, I'm just being facetious right now, but they were horrible for the tag team division. But Alexa and Nikki Cross, I wasn't too keen on the idea of them being the champions initially, but they've elevated those belts and they are good. They are what's good for business when it comes to the women's tag the women's tag team picture. I just wish that they did also, give the NXT women their shot like they were originally going to do when Sasha and Bailey were the champions. Let's see what they do next. They can't really go with the Kabuki Warriors right now because they would have to squash that group because right now Bliss and Cross are so ridiculously over. I also want to point out during this match, well, before this match, actually, it's kind of just more than that. The first 24/7 championship segment happened where Cross and Bliss are being interviewed by Charlotte Caruso in the backstage, and you see the boom mic drop down in front, and it's R-Truth and Carmella operating the boom mic, trying to hide, trying to fit in backstage as part of the sound crew. And Alexa gets pissed and grabs the boom mic and basically tells everybody that Truth and Carmella are back there hiding. So that brings out the 24/7 chain or train to chase them off. So during the tag team match, R-Truth runs out and everyone's chasing after him. He slides into the ring. The ref is stopping the other people from chasing him to getting into the ring as well. And Alexa rolls him up and gets a 2 count, and everybody was losing their shit. Like, is she about to become the 24/7 champion? She should. I mean, I'm telling you, I've been saying it from day one. Carmella should have been the person to take that title off of him first. If Alexa would have won it there, I would have been excited for that. It would have been a huge pop to have her win that and then turn around and keep the tag team title. That would have been fantastic. They didn't pull the trigger on it. People across social media were hyped for that moment and hoping that she would have won. It would have been huge. I would have enjoyed it. Everyone would have been happy and walked away happy from that match. But it was still a good match. Nikki Cross gets the pin on Mandy Rose after hitting that twisting neck breaker off the top rope, or how she does it. She sits him on the top rope, hits the twisted neck breaker. So that was a good match. Mandy Rose and Sonya Deville look good. I think that like I said, that they continue to improve, in my opinion. Mandy Rose, she looks fantastic. She's looking better in the ring. Sonya Deville is a great character, epically fantastic in the ring. She had her pride flag hanging out of her pants. I think that's a story that they can continue telling about her. Mandy Rose has some really good power moves today. She had that delayed vertical suplex. She had a couple of power slams and stuff like that. She has a very good moveset that you wouldn't think she would have, but with her powerlifting background, it really kind of comes into play with a lot of her lifts and stuff like that. So as I've always said, I think that yeah, she's someone that they're going to continue to push down our throats just because of the way she looks, but she can deliver in the ring if given the time. to develop. So let's see kind of where that goes. Let's see how that plays out. But I think both of those women have equal value. Then we got The Miz versus Nakamura. And as I mentioned, this wasn't the match that I was most excited for. It was a match that I kind of didn't care about. This could have been on the pre-show, and they could have flipped the Cedric Alexander AJ Styles match. And I think that a lot of people would have been more pleased with that. This match was still entertaining, though. It was very entertaining. Sami Zayn comes out there on the mic as he usually does. And I loved his line where he called The Miz the King of Soft Style, because it made me think of when Daniel Bryan and The Miz got into it on Talking Smack. But that was a hell of a one-liner. You see The Miz look at him like, "What the fuck did you just say?" And I love that whole moment. They end up outside. Miz grabs the microphone out of Sami Zayn's hand and chucks it towards the Titantron, which I thought was fantastic. Another good point as well. This was an exciting match. A lot of back and forth action. The ending sequence was good. The crowd was really into it. I feel like the crowd wanted to see The Miz win the title. Um, and I wouldn't have been too mad about that, because Shinsuke Nakamura as a champion hasn't really done anything. I mean, he's held on to the belt, but what has he really done? I mean, there's been weeks where he's not even on TV, even with Sami Zayn as his mouthpiece. What what do we see them doing? If anything else, I would rather see Sami Zayn and The Miz feuding over the Intercontinental Champion. I think that would be much better, much better matches, much better promos, much better segments. So I think that would be fantastic. But they are intending on keeping that belt on Shin. I'm not really sure why, but we'll find out about that. What else did we get after this? We got The Miz, Nakamura. Then we got the main event of the evening. And I don't care what you say, this was the main event of the evening. Right now, looking at the time. Let me see if this is still. Yep. So looking at the time, Sasha Banks and Becky Lynch got 20 minutes of airtime. Kofi Kingston and Randy Orton got 20 minutes and 50 seconds. So we can call it even all we want to, but Sasha Banks defeating Becky Lynch by disqualification. This was the main event of the evening in my point of view. They start out, the crowd pop for both women was huge. They had dueling chants for both Lynch and Sasha Banks. So it was it was excitement from the very start. It was pretty hard hitting. It was sort of slow at first, and then it kind of picked up pace, and we'll talk about how it did in a second. The chair spot I didn't like, because here it is, you have the whole story about Sasha Banks was that she was pissed that she wasn't in the main event picture. She gets back into the main event picture. She is trying to become champion, and she has an opportunity to become champion by defeating Becky Lynch clean, and she goes and gets a chair, which would get her disqualified if she hits Becky Lynch with it. So, but the ref stops her. Lynch gets the chair, swings, and hits the ref with it. So she was technically disqualified at that point, but they didn't make any announcement about it. Instead, what we get is a brawl where Sasha and Bayley start fighting in the ring, fight up the stairs, fight through the concourse from like one section to the other, and then fight back down the stairs back into the ring. As that's going on, Sasha's throwing mustard on, Becky's throwing mustard on Sasha. They're brawling up and down the stairs. They're putting each other in submission holds in the barricades, like the handrail things. They're smashing each other into the steps, kicking each other down the stairs. Corey Graves mentions that Bayley has been disqualified. And they get back in the ring, still fighting. Becky Lynch puts her in a disarmer in between a chair in the ring. Refs come down, refs rush down, they break it up. You hear the announcement that Becky Lynch has been disqualified, but she's still the champion. Sasha's laying there holding her arm as we cut away. And the resounding response was, this has to mean that they're getting a Hell in a Cell match next month, which, okay, I am okay with. I am okay with seeing these two women get into a Hell in a Cell matchup. But again, I am concerned about them drawing out putting the title on Sasha Banks, because we know WWE has a hard time keeping her hot. Let's see what they do with her as a heel, because I'm wondering, can they keep her hot through Hell in a Cell to where the fans have this same type of reaction? In my opinion, they need to institute like a stipulation where the two women cannot come into a contact with each other. No matches, no background segments. They cannot come into contact with each other until the match, which keeps people, to keep them like face to face, but they just can't touch each other. They touch each other, they're out of the match. They have to do something like that to keep them from coming to blows before Hell in a Cell. I think that it kind of adds intrigue and it adds anticipation for that match again, because the anticipation around this match is exactly why I said it should have been the main event. And you could hear that in the crowd. You could hear the crowd wanting to explode when Sasha had Bailey and Becky in the bank statement in the middle of the ring. They went through that series. You could hear the crowd wanting to lose their shit if she would attack, and Sasha would have won the title. You saw that. So let's see what that situation looks like. And I think that they need to keep them away from each other, keep this match hot, and if they're going to go with Hell in a Cell, again, these women need to be the main event. They proved that they were the main event tonight, even though they didn't go on last. And this was a hell of a moment. It was very good, minus that chair spot, but this was an exciting match from start to finish. What wasn't so exciting was the next match where we got Kofi Kingston and Randy Orton. And yeah, it was very slow. It was some typical wrestling for a majority of the match. Probably the best segment was when they went on the outside and Randy Orton started hitting a lot of moves outside, puts him through a table and stuff like that. But this match was very plodding and very slow. And in my opinion, it's a very early 2000s, 90s Randy Orton match. And I say that because it was very, very, very slow. It makes me think of the way Triple H versus Batista at WrestleMania was extremely slow, extremely drawn out, and people were like, "What the hell? I don't want to watch this. This is getting too long." That is that evolution style of match. Randy Orton does it, Batista does it, Triple H does it, Ric Flair did it. Long, dramatic pauses in action, walk around a little bit. Here's a moment where he walked out the ring and was on the apron for at least a 20 count, 30 count probably, but the ref just wasn't counting. So that is his style, and I get that that is his style. It's really different than a lot of wrestlers do today, which I can appreciate. But in matches like this, it's problematic because this match shouldn't have been slow. It shouldn't have been plodding. There was value in keeping this match fast, keeping this match hot, but they just didn't do that. And in that situation, it just wasn't as exciting as it could have been, and you can hear that, and or you can at least read that, excuse me, in the responses everyone's been posting across social media about this match. Was it fantastic? I mean, it wasn't fantastic. Was it bad? I don't think it was as bad as people are making it out to be. Do I want to see Randy Orton and Kofi Kingston in Hell in a Cell? Nope. I'd much rather see something else. I would like to see Randy Orton, I'm not Randy Orton, Kofi Kingston pitted against someone who is of a faster pace, who moves better and moves faster, because that would force him into a situation that have to do a faster pace match, and we know that he's better with that. But I also don't want I know that the vast majority of MMA media and those pundits and those experts that have their podcasts and have their shows are going to say, this is Kofi Kingston, this is why we can't stand him as a champion, et cetera, without even acknowledging the fact that this is a type of style. In everything that Randy Orton does, this is the type of style that he does, slow, methodical, et cetera, et cetera. And but instead they're going to turn all that vitriol towards Kingston, and we know what it is. We know that they have some biases there, and there are reasons why they do that. They may not see them fully, but this is not all on Kingston. What's his name has to take some onus in this as well too. But all in all, it wasn't the greatest match. It was still better than anything that Kofi did with Dolph Ziggler earlier in the year. It was enough. It was enough for me. Then we got a Street Profits segment that I hope leads to something because they're out there talking talking as they usually talk, again, hitting on women, etc., etc. And King Booker comes into the frame and starts talking to them. Angelo Dawkins says something stupid, and King Booker basically tells them to get their head out of their ass, that they need to start getting serious about this, and walks off. Then he comes back and does his famous Harlem Heat catchphrase, if you can you dig that sucker or whatever. We got King Booker on TV, and I hope that it leads to just that. The Street Profits getting their head out of their ass and getting some matches on the main roster, at least doing something, making it a point to get their NXT tag team titles back. Something, like give us something with that. But that segment came in when I wrote about the Street Profits this week. I think the piece went out. It went out earlier this week, but we were promoting it today as well, talking about how their main roster has been run has been pretty much a disappointment for everyone that is involved. But that's neither here nor there. The next match we got was Roman versus Rowan, and this is another match that I wasn't too excited about, wasn't too, interested in. It was basically a street fight, whole bunch of weapons, fighting in the crowd a little bit. Roman got put through, I think, like 3 tables, powerbomb through one. He got iron claw through the other. They fought up the ramp. Rowan went to hit him with the stage camera again. Roman ducked it, hit him with what looked like a microphone stand or something like that. Cracked him in the ribs. A lot of big man spots. The crowd was into it for this one as well too. I feel like they were in and out of it, but there were moments where that they were into it. But the moment that got everybody up off their seats and got everybody excited, motherfucking Luke Harper is back. Roman runs down and he looks like he's about to hit a spear on Eric Rowan, but before he can, Luke Harper steps in and hits him with a fucking big boot, knocked him clear out, and they take him back in the ring, hit him with another iron claw, or they hit him with a discus a discus clothesline off of a corner splash first, then hits him with another iron claw, puts him away 1, 2, 3. And I'm not too mad about that. Luke Harper, he looked really thin to me. When he was there standing beside Rowan, he looked like more thin than usual. But I mean, Luke Harper's back. Everyone's been wanting to talk about Luke Harper. I wish that they wouldn't have split him from Daniel Bryan so much so, but he is back and look like the Bludgeon Brothers are back together. It looks like Daniel Bryan will probably end up teaming with Roman Reigns to fight them because he's not going to be able to fight them on his own. He doesn't have his Shield brethren anymore, so it'll be nice to see a little change up for those guys as well. Then we got the main event, and as I was saying, the main event was pretty good in my opinion. It was fast right out the gate. They came at each other, hitting each other with moves left and right. I love the spot where Braun runs around the ring, just runs into people. I love that spot so much. I wish you would have seen a chair throwing spot here where he throws one of the announce table chairs, but we didn't get that tonight. They fought all over the place. The top rope splash, I just want to go back to that. I gotta find a gif of that. I think I tweeted one out earlier, but this dude, like the top rope looked like it was about to break first and foremost when he gets up there and it's like shaking, his legs are shaking. I'm like, oh my God, he's gonna fall to his death. But he jumps off that bad boy and hits the biggest splash ever. And I'm just like, yo, he just killed Seth Rollins. Seth Rollins kicked out though. But wow, and like they set it up perfectly that he came down on his and he hit his knee, hurt his knee, and that's why he couldn't hit the running power slam when he does get Seth Rollins up for it. But that goes into the segment where Seth hits multiple super kicks. Then he hits the first curb stomp. Braun kicks out at 1. Hits the second curb stomp. Braun kicks out at 2. Hits the third curb stomp. Braun kicks out like 2.9. Then he gets up, staggers back to his feet, and Seth pedigrees him. Then hits the fourth curb stomp and gets the 1, 2, 3. And it makes you wonder, are they building Braun back up? Are they trying to make him seem more like a monster? I don't know why, because they keep jobbing him out to Seth, Roman, and Brock Lesnar. In my opinion, I don't think they are ever going to put the title on that man. Period. I just do not think they are. Um, I think he's going to have a Big Show-esque career. And say what you want about that. I mean, Big Show had a great career. He had like longevity. He had, I think, one title run, multiple other titles. He could always be inserted into a storyline as a big threat, but he was never the guy. And I think Braun's going to have a similar run like that. But as we said, Seth Rock walking out, music's playing, lights drop. We get the screeching, and we get the Fiend. That ending there makes this show worth it. Makes the show worthwhile. Kind of, if you think Kofi versus Kingston or Kofi versus Orton was that bad of a match and you pulled the whole show down, okay, fine. But that ending elevated it off to me. I don't think of anything bad really on the show. Looking through my notes, I could have gone without the Miz and Nakamura. That could have been on a regular TV episode to cut the show down. We could have gone with the women's tag team match. That could have been on a regular TV show to cut this episode down. Same thing with the Raw tag team titles. That could have been on a regular episode to cut this show down. It was 6 hours long. Again, I think 5 because the pre-show started at 6. But that's just the era that we live in. All in all, I think that this was a good show. We also got some news this week that on October 11th they are holding a draft for Raw and SmackDown. So the wild card rule is coming to an end finally. Exclusively, it's done. So that'll be some interesting. There'll be interesting speculation around that in the coming weeks. I might do a piece about what should be the drawing order for the draft and what should be like who should be picked up when. A mock draft. There it is. That's what I was thinking. Probably gonna do a mock draft this week and kind of talk about that maybe on this week's show or maybe write about that. But anyway, thank you for taking some time to listen to this recap. I appreciate you doing so. This is Raphael Garcia again on September 15th talking about Clash of Champions and recapping some of the action that we saw here. You can find me at rgarcia_sports and you can catch all my content there. You can also follow us at MMA Ratings Net on Instagram and Twitter. Go to MMAratings.net to tell us what you thought about the show. Tell us what you thought and rate the MMA fights that you see. Let us know what you thought about those and how anticipated or how excited you are for upcoming fights. Go over to YouTube, catch us at MMA Ratings Net there, or MMA Ratings actually is our YouTube channel. Subscribe there as well, like our videos, and you can catch us on Spotify and Anchor as well too. So as always, thank you for taking the time to listen to this show. Get excited because we're heading into an interesting time for professional wrestling. Thank you everyone, and have a great evening and get off to a great week.